He's the tallest man on the radio, so sit right back and enjoy the show. Flying through the air like a ballistic missile. Here's your host, Ben Kissel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Ben Kissel Politics, the greatest political podcast going today. I am Ben Kissel on Instagram at BenKissel1, joined by Kyle Plouffe.
Hey.
At Kyle Plouffe. Thank you all so much for being with us. Watch live on Patreon, patreon.com/diebud. Also, shoot us an email, okbudpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Send us pictures of your pets, your opinions, your pies, your baked goods, really anything you want to share. okbudpod@gmail.com. We got Epstein today. We also will discuss the wonderful world of redistricting and what's going on in California, New York, and Texas, amongst a spattering of other very interesting stories, including what happened between the United States and the European Union. But before we get to all of that, let's start with a motivational speech by the one and only Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Yeah.
He's got a message for the working man, the working woman out there. Hard times. A lot of folks, they're hitting hard times right now. Stress levels are high. Suicide rates are through the roof. People are looking at their bank accounts. They're just seeing that number go lower and lower and lower, like it's playing some kind of, what's the name of the game where people go lower? Skating rinks? Limbo.
Hockey? Oh, limbo. Skating rinks.
Yeah, you go with limbo,
yeah.
skating rinks.
Yeah.
Like they're playing a bunch of financial limbo. So let us listen to the curly-haired Jesus that is Dusty Rhodes.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years. They give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time. That's hard time. And Ric Flair, you put hard times on this country by taking Dusty Rhodes out. That's hard time.
That's hard times. And of course, in this case, Ric Flair are the corporate elitist, government elitist scumbags who are trying to take our jobs and take our money as they get richer and richer, rolling in the dough. Let's talk about one of these schmucks, shall we? Go to Texas, where a pro-life Texas Republican is accused of having a very long affair with a stripper.
Oh, no.
And then he paid for 3 abortions.
Sheesh.
Yeah, the problem with all this, obviously, he's married, so that ain't good.
Hard times.
Hard times. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth, saying, I'm for family values, I'm pro-life. Meanwhile, he's banging a stripper on the side, paying for all her abortions. That is where the problem comes in. The lady's name is Alex Grace, and the Republican representative is a man named Giovanni Capriglone.
Oh, I'm a Capriglone.
He's a Capriglone.
Yeah, moon rising.
Yeah, that's when you're born in the 14th month.
Yeah.
And no one knows what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
I'm a rising dickhead.
Literally.
With a butthead moon. I don't know enough about it to make even a joke. But anyway, Giovanni, he's a man who says, hey, we got to follow the Bible. We got to do what Jesus did. But apparently he carved out specifically the parts where Jesus hung out with a bunch of whores. And I love that.
He hung out with Mary Magdalene. She was
He did.
Yeah, she was a sex worker. We've been told.
That's my favorite part of the Bible. Yeah. Everyone who knows me, that's why I'm not married. You don't see a ring on this finger for a reason. I wasn't ready. Maybe I'm more ready now, but I knew I'm traveling the world. Mm-hmm. I want to go and I want to have fun. There's brothels in Sydney I want to visit. Nothing wrong with having a good consensual relationship with 2 adults, even if one is paying.
Right.
But the problem comes here with the hypocrisy of Mr. Giovanni. I do blame the voters in this case just a little.
Well,
they voted for a man named Giovanni. That man's a player.
I'm Italian.
I'm Italian. And he sounds real Italian. Caprolagoni? Capragoloni. Something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a meat that's gone bad in the back of your refrigerator that you took out when you were absolutely hammered, accidentally ate it, and then you couldn't go to work for a week. Well, hopefully this man can't go to work for much longer than that. This is according to Alex Grace. She says, I know that Giovanni has been having affairs since 2005 because it's me. You know, he must be watching this on TV just being like, yikes. Oh, boy. You can see the steam coming from his shirt collar, which is kind of nice. You don't have to pay to get it pressed.
Yeah, through a zipper, too.
Exactly. Man, your clothes are really nice and tight today. Yeah, it's nervous. It's called flop sweat. She says, I know he's been having an affair since 2005 because it's me. I'm her.
Oof.
Then she says, I'm not proud of it, but be proud of it, girl. Who gives a fuck? In fact, I'm ashamed of it, she says. Hopefully you can keep in mind that we all have a past, and I wish I could say for him that was the worst of it, but it's not. Again, the only issue here is the fact, obviously, he's married. That's between he and his wife. But when you run for office and you get elected, you're married to the people. And you say one thing and you do another, and that's where Ben Kissel draws the line. To his credit, Alex Grace is absolutely beautiful. So he definitely chose a hot-ass stripper, so good for him. And good for her for as long as the relationship was positive. She alleged the relationship turned sour after he began playing out, quote, foul fantasies.
Oh, no.
Foul ball fantasies. Well, he worked to, quote, erode away at women's rights. This is, again, the hypocrisy that gets you in trouble. Many people, as a matter of fact, Norm Macdonald had the fantastic joke when he was riding in the car with Jerry Seinfeld getting coffee. Which that show, for some reason, couldn't have been more boring, and I don't know why.
Great guess.
Great guess. It was just Jerry. I don't know. I like Jerry Seinfeld on the show Seinfeld, and I don't demean or diss anybody. He's a multi-billionaire. He's doing much better than me. I don't think he gives a fuck if I criticize him, but I don't particularly care to talk about comedy with anybody, and that seems like that's the only thing he wants to talk about. I'd rather talk about horror movies, so I have no desire to meet Jerry Seinfeld, nor be stuck in a car with him to grab coffee.
Yeah.
Not that he asked, and if he did, I would say, how big is your car? Can I fit? I'll go.
Norm barely fit in that car that you're talking about.
Nonetheless, the point of that is Norm Macdonald was talking about Bill Cosby, and he was telling a story about how Patton Oswalt said the worst part about the Cosby scandal is the hypocrisy.
It's really the worst.
Because don't forget, Bill Cosby was out there telling black men to pull up your pants, treat everyone with respect. You know, he was America's papa.
Don't swear on stage.
Don't swear on stage. All this superficial bullshit that does not make you a good person. So Patton was like, it's the hypocrisy. That's the problem. And then Norm was like, I thought it was all the rape.
Yeah.
And that's the problem here. It is the hypocrisy combined with, obviously, some of the foul fantasies, although it does seem to be consensual in the case of Giovanni. One instance she talks about was when he picked her up near a dumpster, or he gave her cash near a dumpster behind a Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh.
But to his credit, he is paying. So that is good.
Just doesn't smell great.
It doesn't smell great. Also, yeah, why do we have to do this next to a dumpster? Is this directed by somebody?
Right.
This is exactly how you would write this script, where it's like, corrupt politician behind a dumpster of a Chuck E. Cheese gives a hooker money so she can keep quiet about their years-long affair.
It was probably his kid's birthday party. He ran outside to the back. It's like, I can't tell anyone.
Meet me by the dumpster. There's only 3 reasons you meet somebody by the dumpster. Number 1 is a great reason, smoke weed.
Oh.
That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, hide a body, not good. Number 3, pay off a hooker. So Giovanni says he dropped his re-election bid for his seat in the suburbs of Fort Worth, which we have a friend, mostly Kyle's friend, but a good guy who is moving to Fort Worth right now.
Yeah.
And I know him. And Giovanni, you might have a chance to get another vote.
He probably would. Yeah.
Just 3 days before Grace's video surfaced. And then he did end up coming clean about the affair. Again, the affair, don't care. Whatever. That's between he and his family. It's just the audacity of these people, especially in the modern era, who think that they can get away with having these separate lives, especially in Giovanni's case, dang near 20 years. That's just called a long-term relationship.
That's exactly what people are saying in the chat. Is it actually an affair if it carried on for 21 years?
How long was he married for?
Yeah.
He's only 52.
Right.
Like, if I'm his wife, I'm just like, well, dang. Just put a ring on it already.
For real. He's like, I do.
Make it bona fide. So this is the biggest story as far as sexual scandals coming out of the state of Texas. Obviously, Texas has a lot more serious issues happening, but it is important to remember that the politicians that say one thing oftentimes are doing another. This is what they said. This is what Giovanni said. He says, years ago, I selfishly had an affair. And then he also said, I'm not proud of it.
I still do, but I used to too. Mitch Hedberg.
Let's try it again. I don't want it. Why do I need a receipt for this donut? I don't want to remember all that. It's my great Mitch Hedberg.
Spot on.
No, I don't remember. Remember when he sounded like that? No, I don't want to remember all this. So Giovanni says, years ago, I selfishly had an affair. I'm not proud of this. And then he puts on the bullshit right away. Thank God my wife and my family forgave me. And we've moved past it and have the strong marriage we have today. However, he does deny paying for the 3 abortions. He says, I have never, nor would I ever pay for an abortion. So he didn't say he didn't make the chick get one.
Yeah,
He's like, I ain't paying for it.
It's on her tab.
Not on Giovanni's dime. Although I'll give you an extra $1,500 for the next blowjob.
Oh.
Spend it as you will. His campaign website touts Giovanni as, quote, a pro-life leader with a 100% pro-life voting record. He voted to defund Planned Parenthood and authored and passed numerous pro-life bills, including the pro-life abortion trigger ban bill. And Kyle, can you search the pro-life trigger ban bill, please? The trigger ban bill made performing abortions in prison punishable by up to life in prison.
Jesus.
I was listening to a nun speak about the political world that is abortion, because obviously abortion, it's a serious personal issue that people deal with, whether for or against, whether have or not. The politics, once you get into the politics of it, you're looking through a lens that gets perverted and it becomes something totally different than what it actually is, which again is a personal decision between you and your God and your family. When it comes to Giovanni passing bills like this or proposing bills like this that have a direct impact on forcing someone to be incarcerated for the rest of their life if they have an abortion in prison. That's why this is so disgusting.
Yeah.
That's where the issues lie with, I think, everybody listening, including Kyle and myself. That's where it's like, do as I say, not as I do. By his own metric, he should be in prison for life.
3 times.
Thrice life sentences. And so should the hot chick he was banging out, apparently not able to play the backshot game with.
No.
Come on the booty. Ain't no baby has ever come from that. And if one does, you better keep that fucking baby. That's the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's the only way I'll believe the person is actually the second coming of Jesus Christ. Vaginal birth for Mary, anal birth for Rebecca, whoever the fuck has the next one. So Grace, she says she was working as an exotic dancer when she was 18 years old. That's where she met this fella. He was a straight-laced businessman. Their relationship blossomed, so on and so forth. And as time went on, she could no longer square the circle that was his conservative beliefs. And as he was spouting all the bullshit about why he believes women should not have the ability to do things that he is currently paying a woman to do, she couldn't handle it anymore, and that's why she came forward. Also, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if she's some kind of super innocent person. This is also someone who had a 17-year-long affair.
Right.
I'm assuming the checks dried up.
Yeah, she wanted the smoke because she came out and was like, I know he's having an affair because it's me.
Because it's me. Right.
So, yeah, she put the target on her own back in that regard.
Well, and that's what he needed to be doing in the fucking first place.
Exactly.
And then we wouldn't be in this gooey mess.
Yeah, these trigger ban bills, they essentially, it's saying these bills aim to ban or severely restrict abortion access in states that have them enacted, often in line with pro-life objectives to protect unborn life, which is all well and good. But I think, obviously, like you said, it's a personal decision. And I think we can all agree that after a certain point, it needs to not happen.
Well, again, that's a personal decision, and if people's lives are at risk, that's something that they have to deal with.
Right.
When it comes to prison, it's interesting because if you commit suicide or if you hurt yourself in prison, you get fined for ruining state property. So you know for a fact that they want, and recidivism rates and people who are incarcerated, oftentimes this is a family tradition, as Hank Williams would sing about, Hank Williams Jr. And if you look at it from a political perspective, they kind of want you to have that kid because they assume a child born in prison will probably come back to prison in the fairly near future,
for sure.
keeping the entire cycle going.
Yeah.
And all they do is see these children and the people as profit, which is absolutely disgusting. I was speaking about that nun, and she was talking about how she's personally pro-life. However, she's also pro-educating our children, pro-giving our children medical care, pro-having an established society to take care of our children. That's why when you see SNAP benefits being cut, when you see programs that help children who might be, again, in the margins, who don't have the economic ability because of their parents and the family that they were born into, to have access to what every other kid has, that's where the problem lies. You can't just say everyone needs to have birth. That's forced birth, number one, which is unconstitutional, and that's way too large of a government stance to have. And then also say, and by the way, any social network, any kind of safety net that we had, we're also going to cut the strings on that. You can't have it both fucking ways, and that's what they want. And that's why the whole pro-life argument and abortion, it's not even about the child, it's not about abortion, it's about economics, and it's about making sure that people who don't have Giovanni's pocketbook, who don't have the ability to cross state lines to get an abortion, because if you live in a state and you have cash, abortion access, you can get it. If you don't have cash, you can't. And that's exactly what they want. They want to make sure that the people who are in poverty stay in poverty, and this is just one of the ways they do it. On the flip side of that, there's also a nefarious angle that they want to, on the flip side of the abortion argument, some people might say, well, I want abortion for all poor people because I want to eradicate them. That's also not right.
Right.
It's all about personal freedom, personal responsibility, and the government should stay the fuck out of it. And that's why politicians like Giovanni need to shove it where the sun don't shine, take your little leather loafers, and get the fuck out of politics, go back into whatever the hell you want to go back into, and stop telling people how to live their lives. And I'm going to give myself a round of Ben Kissel applause. Ben Kissel, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The chat, no one's saying anything, but thank you so much. All right, that's Giovanni the Scandal. Get the fuck out of here. Yes. Let's discuss what happened with the EU. And this is, for all intents and purposes, this is a win for the White House. I want to play a clip first from Nancy Pelosi. When it comes to tariffs, again, when people start looking through the political lens, everything one party does, the other party must hate, and vice versa. Tariffs, not a massive fan. However, they have been politically discussed by both sides of the aisle for many, many years. it is true. The U.S. has been getting fucked over by the European Union and NATO. We've been paying a lot of bills and not getting a lot in return. Politicians have been saying this for a long time. And if you're Donald Trump, this is a victory for you, despite what the other side is going to say. It is what it is. I want to play this clip from Nancy Pelosi. Basically, this is from the 90s, I believe, basically saying the exact same thing that Donald Trump has been saying and the Republicans have been saying for a long, long time.
In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%, and it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say to you, now we want to see your plan for export. That's as simply as I can say it briefly. But the fact is, this isn't about products made in America. The Chinese want American products that are made in China. And the most serious of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry, where Boeing tail sections of the Boeing 737s were mostly made in Wichita, Kansas. Now they are made in Shen province, where workers make $50 a month. And they had the transfer of the technology and the transfer of the jobs has taken place. General Motors, Ford, they're all fighting to get in to build factories there so they can make parts there. They want MFN so they can get those parts back into the United States. So we are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship, you have a serious threat not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world. And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States. And this brings us to the point that others have said, well, we can't isolate China. Do you think for 1 minute that with 10 million jobs at least, and $35 billion and be over $40 billion this year in a trade surplus, all those billions of dollars in surplus, that the Chinese are going to walk away? Where are they going to take 35 to 40%
I love how
exports?
she's like, this is so unfair and economic unfairness. And then she probably saw everybody's eyes glazing over and she's just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do insider trading for the rest of my life.
Let's go. Get that money. That Republican that is Nancy Pelosi. Interesting what's going on right now with the trade agreement between the United States and the European Union. It will lift tariffs on imports of goods from the European countries that are in the EU to their highest level in decades. This is according to an economist And this is what he has to say. They say it is an asymmetric and unbalanced deal in favor of the United States in this case. They say the EU decided neither to retaliate nor to increase its tariffs and is even expected to reduce them. The EU agreed to a bad deal, which is a good deal for us, rather than risk trade war escalation. Now, it's important to point out that this agreement is not legally binding. This is just a cordial agreement between states, obviously countries being the states in this case. And this is something that is a handshake deal, written down, of course, but it is not legally binding. And I do imagine that the EU will follow through with what they have promised to do. But that is something that people like Chuck Schumer have pointed out. None of the things are legally binding because the United States government is in charge of itself. And when it comes to the European Union and NATO, we can back out and do whatever we want, really at any given time. It's the framework of it is predicated upon trust, and if the EU would break that trust after agreeing to the tariffs, it would be a horrible look. So for all intents and purposes, although not legally binding, it is still binding.
Yeah, they lie to us, not lie to each other, I guess is what's happening.
Oh, they lie to each other all the fucking time, too. They lie all around.
I love how the American economy is now based off of a spit handshake. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
of course.
good or bad.
It's good. What's wrong with the old spit handshake? Better than the old jizz hug. So, EU countries annually ship more than $300 billion in goods to the U.S., accounting for more than 20% of total U.S. imports. The deal announced by the Trump administration with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
Ooh, Ursula, 2 episodes in a row.
Let's go. Take my voice, please. Take her. It imposes a 15% U.S. tariff on most EU imports. Let's play Donald Trump talking about this again. This is politically a winner for him, as many people, farmers across this country specifically, were super freaking upset with the tariffs, with the looming trade war, as they were being hurt by it the most. So let's play Donnie here.
So we have good news. We've reached a deal. European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. They're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment.
We have a trade deal between the 2 largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. It's 15% tariffs across the board, all inclusive. The investments Mr. President just described that going to go to the United States and the purchases over there. Indeed, basically the European market is open. It's 450 million people. So it's a good deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Was tough negotiations. I knew it at the beginning, and it was indeed very tough, but we came to good conclusions for both sides. So again, congratulations and many thanks.
Thank you very much.
And the handshake. All right, so
Yeesh.
the one big thing about this that's good for everybody is the markets are going to be more stabilized. Obviously, a lot of people have been concerned that Donald Trump, with the rhetoric and with the puffery of the administration, was going to tank the markets, because the one thing the markets really need is certainty. They don't like when shit goes crazy. They don't like uncertainty. So this is a stabilizer. It's going to be good news for people who have their investments, things of that nature. Also good news for farmers and many different small business owners who rely on companies from foreign lands in order to provide their goods, like nails, like things you don't think about, you know, the bolts, the wood, all those things that go into making a company. all those things that go into making a business, all the invisible things that us as customers just walk in and don't even see with our naked eyes, all the, just the things that are keeping that business afloat, that are naked to our eye, that are very important to actual small businesses. This is going to ease a lot of those pressures and a lot of the economic concerns. So it is good overall. And as we have an article coming out here in a couple of weeks. And one of the things I said, if it's good for the middle class, if it's good for people who are struggling, I am for it. I don't give a fuck how it gets done or who does it. So overall, it's not a bad thing. And as Ursula said, it is a big deal. And thankfully, it's over. Obviously, Donald Trump started with the idea of a 30% tariff, and it did go down to a 15% tariff. But of course, 30% was the beginning for his negotiations. So do we have any comments on this? Because I know this is probably an interesting point that people want to discuss.
Yeah, I think people are just so jaded. Jeff's saying, if it's one thing I know about Trump, it's that he is trustworthy. But like you said, they kind of have to go along with it, because if you break some trust, there's going to be some issues.
Well, there will be some issues. And at the end of the day, the U.S. still desperately needs goods from foreign countries, specifically our allies in the EU. But if that trust is broken, hey, we'll talk about that too, and then things will completely change. As it stands right now, it looks like the deal is in place, and it looks as if overall it is better news for the country than many people worried. And that's the most important thing. All right, let's move on to Jeffrey Epstein.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Jeffrey who?
Jeffrey what?
He ever existed?
I don't know if he did or not. This is crazy. So apparently Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, they did have a falling out. Why? Because Jeffrey Epstein stole... hold on one second. I actually want to do... Yeah, that's fine. Okay. We'll come back from the edit. No. All right, let's move on to Jeffrey Epstein. Why did Epstein and Trump have a falling out? Well, apparently Jeffrey Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre when she was just 17 from Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really big. Donald Trump said he ended his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein because he stole a young woman who was working at Mar-a-Lago. That woman being Virginia Giuffre.
Who just passed away.
Who just died by suicide, air quotes.
Yeah.
If not nefarious, of course, her life obviously took a toll on her. R.I.P. And we hope she's found her peace. This reminds me of Freddy versus Jason.
Oh.
Because you recall, in Freddy versus Jason, Freddy gets mad at Jason because he won't stop killing.
Right.
He took his kills. And then Freddy's like, God damn it, Jason, that was mine. That was my victim. And you stole her from me. And that's what happened between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Trump was like, no, I was supposed to be raping that young girl, and you took my victim.
Hard times.
Hard times. He was talking on Air Force One while returning from his 5-day golf trip / EU deal in Scotland. Of course, you got to get a couple of strokes in while you're dealing with the people's business. He chose Scotland, by the way, because of the golf courses, of course.
Yeah.
Because he needs to swing them rods around with his big old weird golf butt. So he says that he banned Jeffrey Epstein from his Palm Beach club a while before. He said, I haven't spoken to him for a minute because he kept on taking all the young girls that I had around.
Oh, boy.
We have a clip of Donald Trump talking about some of the good things that he was able to do when it comes to separating himself from Jeffrey Epstein and Epstein Island. He talked about one of the only good things he ever did was not go to Epstein Island, although I'm pretty certain, because he knows all the people that went to Epstein Island, he was kind of on Epstein's little island there. But let's play a clip from Donald Trump, and then we're going to play a clip from one of Epstein's accusers discussing what she dealt with and the truth behind the matter.
By the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
It's such bullshit.
I didn't want to go.
I didn't want to go, but then here are all the people that went, and I was invited, but I didn't go. It is the pedophile's version of when Bill Clinton said he smoked weed but didn't inhale.
Yeah, the only people that didn't want to go were the people who were trafficked there.
Exactly. So obviously he went because he knew everybody that was there at the event, at the party, at the pedophile's bash. Birds of a feather flock together, and in this case, those birds are nasty, nasty political elites. This is what Donald Trump said regarding Jeffrey Epstein. He says, he took people that work for me, and I told him, don't do it anymore, and he did it. And I said, stay the hell out of here. Those are my victims.
Yeah.
You don't get to have my victims. I curated my victims precisely the way that I like them, Jeffrey. You go to the beach and you find your own. You have Ghislaine Maxwell working for you. I do this all myself. It's the art of the steal.
Yeah, because Virginia Giuffre kind of looked like Ivanka a little bit.
Well,
The blonde hair, it's all messed up.
That's the lead in to our next clip from one of the Epstein accusers, which we're going to play in one frickin' second.
Oh.
But I do just want to again point out how fucking crazy it is that the reason that Donald Trump has said publicly for his fight with Jeffrey Epstein is that he took the victims that he wanted. It's the craziest. He also calls the island like great. He's like, I wish I was there. I kind of do wish I went. But I said no, it was a good moment. I actually said no, but it looked pretty fucking badass. After I saw the pictures, I had a thing called FOMO.
He's like he's telling people that he made the right decision but did the wrong math. Like, what are you doing?
It's freaking incredible. So apparently Epstein stole Joffrey, Virginia Joffrey, then went to the Mar-a-Lago pool locker room, and then he ended up taking like a groundskeeper. He ended up just poaching all of the people from Mar-a-Lago to bring over to wherever the fuck he wanted to put them. And that's what got Donald Trump upset. This was all after, by the way. This wasn't the 90s or early 2000s. I give people a little bit of grace who knew Jeffrey Epstein before he was officially charged and found guilty of sex trafficking and fucking minors.
Right.
Which I believe took place in 2007, 2008. Before all of that stuff came to light, it's like, okay, you don't know. This guy is just a billionaire. You want to believe the lie. You want to believe the fantasy. He's a con man. And so you can get conned by con men. I get that.
Sure.
But once it was public knowledge that this dude was a pederast, and then you still hang out with him, that's where the hard line must be drawn. But no, that wasn't the line in the sand for Trump. The line in the sand for him was when he started fucking with his groundkeeper and taking him to go work on his own yard.
You stole my landscaper.
It's unbelievable. This is a quote from Trump, and we're going to play the sound from a victim here in a second. He says, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was a spa or not a spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again.
Oh.
And I said, you're out of here.
This scoundrel.
It's unbelievable. It really is absolutely unbelievable that was the issue. It's because he finally the chicanery of Jeffrey Epstein finally impacted Donald Trump in a negative way. And then Donald said, that's enough. Let's play the sound of a victim here talking about Donald Trump and his relationship with Epstein, and then we do have a little bit of sound regarding how many wire transfers Donald Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein, which is freaking mind-boggling. Oof. This is hard to listen to, but we'll listen to it here.
Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter.
Oh!
And she said, well, she's 13 as well. So he knew the first time that he saw me. But he comes over mad because I was crying, and said that I should be thankful that someone like Donald Trump took my virginity. But he basically didn't say took my virginity. He said, I should be glad that someone like Donald Trump popped my cherry, and not some pimply little 14-year-old. And I just was like, what if I said, what if I get pregnant? Not even talking to him. I didn't want to talk to him. I was talking to Tiffany. And he said, well, you'll get an abortion then, bitch. And then just walked away.
Why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody.
All right.
It's pretty boring stuff.
It's pretty boring
All right.
stuff.
So there was this Donald Trump towards the end. They were talking outside of Air Fart 1. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about.
Jesus.
She said she was 14 years old, and he said, you should be grateful that I raped you because you didn't have to fuck another 14-year-old, which that's what you have to do when you're 14. That's the only time you get to do it, and that's the only time you should be doing it. And the fact that I'm not like a huge like, oh, virginity, chastity, how precious, how whatever.
Right.
But the fact that he took that from her and in that way and stole that experience, whether that experience, it's supposed to be kind of awkward, right?
Sure.
The whole thing is awkward. Puberty's awkward. Coming of age sexually is awkward.
Yeah.
I was a late bloomer. I didn't have sex until the first time until I was 18 years old. And it was a 24-year-old RA. Oh, yeah. I did it. And she was so surprised it was my first time. I told her afterwards. She was like, if I would have known, I wouldn't have done it. I said, I know. Because no one wants to take a man's virginity.
No.
But she was quite surprised because I ate that pussy.
Got it done.
I got it done. I was interested. I was interested in what I was doing down there.
Yeah.
But that sound is so nasty on so many levels. So obviously stealing this, raping this girl, and then telling her that she should be thankful for it because she didn't need to have sex with one of her peers. Also choosing her because she looked like his daughter, which I completely agree. You go and listen to old Howard Stern. That's why fuck Howard Stern and fuck everything he's ever done and fuck the fact he thinks he's woke now. He's a piece of shit, always has been, always will be. And I liked it when he was doing anal ring toss and having a bunch of prostitutes on. At least he was being sincere. Yeah. The fact that so I completely believe that he was like, oh, looks like my daughter, she's beautiful. Let's choose that gal. And then the fact that she was like, what if I get pregnant? Also, as we just discussed with Giovanni in Texas, that's part of the power trip as well. Well, then I'll make you get an abortion because they don't want any ramifications for their actions. And that would be a ramification. They said, well, fuck it. I'm rich enough. It doesn't even matter. It's all obviously, again, about power, about demeaning others in order to make yourself feel good. I like to make people feel good because it makes me feel good, and I think all ships rise, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes in life, but this is not a mistake. This is a purposeful act of terror.
Horrific criminal act.
Horrific criminal act. And when it comes to the money, there are a lot of documents. There's a lot of wires. There's a lot of evidence. Let's play here. How many wire transfers did Donald Trump actually send to Jeffrey Epstein? The number's astounding. And again, further evidence that not only did they know each other, not only were they personal friends, they were personal business partners. And this is showing that, mathematically shows how well they knew each other financially.
Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers.
What?
Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The file shows that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere.
Jesus. I was going to say maybe 10 times.
Over 4,000. So it's insane.
And he has the nerve to be like, why are people interested?
Why do they care?
Oh my
And of course,
God.
he and the Megalites, they were on the forefront of being interested. This is where they weren't necessarily wrong. When they were like, what's going on with our elites? What are they doing with all these children? What's happening? And now, of course, the Fox Newses and Newsmaxes of the world want to say, hey, who cares? What's the big deal? And now we have MSNBC, which was covering it up before, saying, hey, now we're on top of it. All they do is just shift it just a little bit to make sure that the lies always stay there, and they let a little bit of truth out on occasion, keeping people confused and allowing, air quotes, allowing people to make their own conclusions. There's only one conclusion.
It's very clear.
It's very, very frickin' clear. So that story is not going to go away, nor should it go away. And it's an example, again, of the nasty nature of the powerful, of how they get off, of how they pleasure themselves with secrecy. They take pleasure in saying one thing in a microphone. Again, look at Giovanni in Texas, and then going and banging that person behind the stage and saying, who cares? I'll get you an abortion. Didn't you just say you want people who are in prison who get an abortions to be in prison for life?
Yep.
It's freaking disgusting. All right, lastly, let's move on to redistricting, specifically what's going on now nationally. Now, redistricting is not a crime in itself when done legally. The problem is oftentimes legal is a very loose term. So redistricting is the process of drawing the lines of districts from which public officials are elected. The way that you can do this, as we've talked about before, is you can take minority-majority districts, you can frack and crack certain areas, making it so that those people's votes don't count. You can also do this to increase the amount of seats you have in the House. That is what Texas plans to do. And in following suit, other states have said that they will do the same. I hate it. It is not right no matter who does it, and all politicians are that do this are at fault, no matter what side you're on. It's a bad thing to do to disenfranchise the vote. So what is the difference between redistricting and gerrymandering? So redistricting is lawful if conducted properly. It is also frequently a necessary process to reflect changes in population changes. When redistricting is used as a tool to manipulate electoral outcomes, however, it can be used to discriminate, as we've talked about, against certain groups, which is obviously what the state of Texas and to some degree New York and California want to do. But let's play this clip focusing on Texas from a representative there who really lays it all out and says exactly what will happen in Texas. This is a fantastic politician who I've been following, Jasmine Crockett. I think that she's dead right on this, and let's just play the sound and then listen to what she has to say.
They are specifically deciding to splinter the communities of common interest, as well as just blatantly say we are going to dilute minority voices. So we know that the courts, ever since we've had a Voting Rights Act, have always found this state to be intentionally discriminatory. That is what they are going to do. So I need people of color to understand that the scheme of the Republicans has consistently been to make sure that they mute our voices so that they can go ahead and have an oversized say in this. So I fully anticipate that's exactly where they're going with this map. It's the only way to do it. We didn't understand how we got to the map that they gave us last time because that state was grown by 95% people of color. They went out of their way to make sure that we got 0 new seats for people of color.
It's pretty unbelievable. And from a conservative, from a libertarian, from a limited government perspective, this is literally taxation without representation. If you're obviously, all these people are paying taxes. And if your vote has been redistricted into oblivion to the point where, again, it doesn't matter because you simply don't have the numbers because the way that they drew it up, you are officially paying taxes to a state and not receiving representation. That's the next soundbite I want to play. Taxation without representation. And this is an angle that the Democratic Party needs to start embracing and understanding. The Democrats for far too long have loved the T word, taxes, and it's simply not a political winner. No one likes it, and because they're not taxing the right entities. Corporate taxes, corporation taxes, those are one thing. Civilian taxes, raising those to pay for certain things, whether that person makes $1 million or $1,000, I'm completely against. The corporations should be the ones paying the taxes, as we've talked about with a UBI. They should be paying us money as they use our likeness, as they continue to automate our jobs away. We are the ones who deserve the money. They don't deserve the money from us. So let's play this clip of taxation without representation. This woman makes a fantastic point. This is also out of Texas.
My name is Amanda Edwards, and I'm a former at-large Houston City Council member, also a candidate for the 18th Congressional District seat now left vacant. On behalf of the 800,000 people who have been without a voice, who have been without their vote, who have not had the federal advocacy that one enjoys when they have their voting member in place. When you count the time from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee being unable to vote and passing away, combine that with Congressman Sylvester Turner also passing away, and the delayed special election, which will likely end in a runoff, this will be a period of time for about 1.5 years.
Okay, so 1.5 years without representation. So
taxation without representation.
We have a DOJ letter in front of us listing this district as one that should be dismantled. A reconfiguration of this district, how would it dilute the voice? How would it dilute the voting strength?
In the 18-month period where the 18th Congressional District will have had no representation, we had something passed called the Big Beautiful Bill. It cut $900 billion in Medicaid funding, $300 billion in SNAP benefits, and it told people who were seeking graduate school loans that they had to be capped as well. That was cutting off opportunity for people. And do you know, when it first passed out of the House of Representatives, it only passed by a margin of 1 vote. Had I been in the seat at that time, had we called a special election by that time, we could have been the vote to block the Big Beautiful Bill that is causing such devastation across America.
So that's how important this is. And it's just so vital that politics are, there's the fun stuff, or not fun stuff, but the stuff that gets you really riled up, really going. And no one wants to talk about the minutia. That's what it's all about. They want you to be bored to tears, and then that's where they end up passing all this shit in the dark of the night. Just a couple more clips I want to play from that city council meeting. This is supposed to be an open call, right? Anyone can go and speak and talk to their representatives, the people who work for fucking us, which sounds like, oh, wow, how cute. It's true. And I'm sick of people pretending as if they're the ones that we are the ones in power. They're the ones working for us. And always keep that in mind. So this person who is in charge, the chairman, they want to extend the time for public to come and speak. And they just straight up say no. And they have the right to do it because of the way the rules are written within the local state house. So this just drives me freaking nuts right here.
I want to thank you all for being here. Thank all the members for being here. I appreciate the questions and the decorum. There being no further business before the committee, Mr. Rosenthal, for what purpose?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to formally move to extend time by at least 1 hour to allow more Texans
The gentleman is not recognized. Oh, maintain decorum. The gentleman is not recognized for that motion at this time. The chair moves that the chair moves that the House Select Committee on Congressional Redistricting stand adjourned subject to the call of the chair.
Objection.
Is there objection?
Object.
Objection has been made. The question occurs on whether the House Select Committee on Congressional Redistricting will stand adjourned subject to the call of the chair. This is not a debatable motion. The clerk?
I don't want to debate, but I would like to say something right
but
quick
you
before
can't-
we actually do that.
We can't, while I've called for a vote and a motion is pending, we can't speak on anything. It's a non-debatable motion.
Non-debatable.
Under
Mr. Chair,
Rule 7, Section
Under
1.
Rule
You
7.
had requested to speak before you had.
You are not recognized at this time.
Thank you very much.
I just want to make an announcement to the public. I don't want to actually debate the motion.
I can't. The clerk will call the roll.
All right. So the rule. There's the rules. It's the rules, and the rules are bullshit.
Yeah, I just
And
said, go fuck yourself.
Exactly. Objection. I don't care. Okay, cute. Bye. It drives me freaking crazy, and it should drive everybody crazy that you're there, you're waiting, and then they say, oh, no, I'm sorry, park is closed. I was just in line for this ride for 3 hours. Sorry, come back tomorrow where the park will also be fucking closed. It's unbelievable that they get away with it, and they do in state houses all across this country. Pay attention to what they are doing, especially here before the midterms. The midterms of next year are going to be very, very important. And the Democratic Party better start getting their messaging right, and they better talk about redistricting, and they better start sending this stuff to the courts, because it is nasty out there. And the Republican Party, specifically here in Texas, they know what the fuck they're doing. You want to call them stupid all day long if you want to. I don't give a fuck, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because this is where they are very, very intelligent. Just lastly, before I let you all go, thank you so much for listening to another episode of BK Politics, by the way. This is now having a trickle-down effect on different states, blue states. And I disagree with it in blue states as well, because if you're a Republican in a blue state, your vote should also matter. It should be a vote for a vote. I see some people discussing in the chat the Electoral College. Now, we can get to that in a whole nother episode, but I actually support the Electoral College because I don't trust. It's not that I don't trust. Everyone always thinks that their outcome is going to be the outcome that wins. And I pump the brakes on that. But we'll do a whole episode on the Electoral College, and we'll do a little segment on the Electoral College. And I want to hear your thoughts on all of that stuff. But let's just first play Governor Hochul here, if we can. This is Hakeem Jeffries talking, but let's play Hochul, and then we'll play Hakeem Jeffries, and then we'll wrap it up for today. So this is the governor of New York. And, oh, man, New York politics, by the way. It would be fun to be there right now. Curtis Sliwa in Mamdani going after it for the mayoralship of New York City. But this is Governor Hochul pandering in a Buffalo Bills hat, by the way.
What I'm going to say is all's fair in love and war, because we are following the rules. We do redistricting every 10 years. But if there's other states that are violating the rules and are going to try and give themselves an advantage, all I'll say is I'm going to look at it closely with Hakeem Jeffries. I'm not surprised that they're trying to break the rules to get an advantage, but that's undemocratic. And not only are we calling them out, we're also going to see what our options are.
All right, so she does admit that it's bad, which is amazing. But she says, hey, if they're doing it, we're going to do it, which is, again, why the only thing that happens is that we get fucked over as they fight. This is Hakeem Jeffries, who is on the upper echelon of Democrat powerhouses right now, and someone who is being looked at for a potential 2028 presidential run. This is what he has to say regarding redistricting maps in New York.
Talk to some members of your delegation, Democrats who want New York to change the maps, to try to add seats, Democratic seats in New York. Would you support that effort in your state?
Let me just simply say the maps in New York are not as fair as they could be.
That sounds to me like you're open to changing it before.
I look forward to having a conversation with the governor about how do we ensure that New York maps are as fair as possible in an environment where you've got extreme MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump doing everything they can to undermine the will of the voters and undermine the principle of free and fair elections across the country.
My concern there is that he's thinking it's unfair for Democratic voters, but is that going to be then ironically unfair for more conservative voters in the state of New York? Anyway, It's not good whenever you deny, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, when you deny somebody the vote, it's undemocratic all around. And again, the people that are getting screwed are you and I. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ben Kissel Politics. Shoot an email, okbudpod@gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks to everyone who watched live on Patreon. And thanks for supporting all the shows, Death and Entertainment, OK Bud, BK Politics. Rate and review. Let us know your thoughts. Love yourself. Be yourself. Hail yourself. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.